Hello everyone, let's explore Rahu and Ketu, the karmic rope, the binding factor in the D9 Navamsa, your destined path in life, your destined relationships. Wow, what more can I say? This is such an important axis to see in the D9 chart. If you're new to my channel, of course, don't forget to sub below. Give the video a like if it's good for you. Give it a hype as well. Thank you. Let's go. First of all, what is the D9 chart? The most important Virgo chart to see. It is the 9th division of every sign coming from your birth chart. This D9 shows you your fortune, your destiny in this lifetime. Why is it happening? Because the 9th house in any chart is the house of fortune or Bhagya. So the D9 is our portion of fortune for this life. And of course, that is all fortune in all departments of life, don't forget. And especially, of course, marriage. It is the chart of relationship, spouse, and marriage. If you don't have a D9 Navamsa, by the way, most Vedic software bring it up for you. Definitely the link below, Deva Guru, bottom of my description box, will actually bring you that up automatically. You do not have to sub to get the chart. And something else very important, the D9, the Navamsa, should be rectified to be accurate for your predictions. Now, even if you have an accurate birth time, hospital record, maybe something like that, Navamsa ascendant changes certainly every 15 minutes, but for your own chart, for your own time of birth, you could find in a minute or two that the ascendant could change. Just a minute's difference or so, and it could all change. All the houses change, or the meaning of that D9 Navamsa will completely be different. So it's very important to rectify D9. To help you do this, on my previous video, as I say, it's been up on my channel for some time, D9 Navamsa chart video. On there, I have given you a very good technique looking at the Navamsa trines. Check that video and definitely you should apply that technique. In addition to that, of course, this series itself, looking at the house placements of the planets D9, will hopefully help you with rectification as well. Now, here's a very important point. The planets by sign in the D9, are they different to the planets by sign D1? No, they are not. The sign is a rasi. Rasi means a heap of karma. Therefore, let's say Venus placed in Taurus. Venus in Taurus will have the same meaning because Taurus is the same in every Varga. So Venus in Taurus, D1, D9, D3, D60, anywhere at all, any Varga will have the same basic meaning, the same karmic implication. It isn't the sign that's going to make things shift, it's the house. That's why ascendant is important. So planets by sign and their karmic significance. There's a whole playlist on my channel, everyone. Planetary karmas by sign. Please check them out and check the meaning of your D9 planets in their signs in that playlist. I will put the list below for you. And when you see those meanings, you can integrate them naturally with the house placements in the D9 that I'm going to go through for you in this series. But when we consider the houses in the D9, this is different. The houses do not have the same meaning, D9, as they do birth chart. There are some definite overlays. Definitely similarities will always be there, but there are specific differences. Check the video on my channel, link below, houses D9. Rahu and Ketu then in the D9 are the karmic rope. What does this mean, rope? Well, because Rahu Ketu are Swabhanu. Who is Swabhanu? He is a snake. Rahu and Ketu, just like a snake, this axis is coiling around us, binding our soul to this incarnation, to these circumstances, to these people, to this situation. It's a totally binding factor. Now, we're going to talk a little bit separately about Rahu Ketu, but you should understand that what is the cause of this entanglement? What is this rope? Simply put, it is the rope of our desire. To get more specific, it's the desires that we did not fulfill. They are causing us to have rebirth. Rahu is the unfulfilled desires. So the compulsions, the absolute destined situation that seems to happen to us. We didn't want to go to this place. We are pulled. We didn't particularly even seek such a person in our life, but there they are. And we are immediately attracted. What's going on? This is the karmic binding factor. Let's explore a little more deeply. Let's start with the positive side, the side everybody wants to know about: success. Rahu can give the most success, the most material gain, the most glory, the most fame. Only Rahu can give these things. And in the D9, he shows how much of that you are destined to achieve. How successful in career, even in D9. You can go to D10, but even in D9. But here's a minefield about Rahu. You'll be pulled to those areas compulsively, work hard at them, feel like you just have to do these things, but temptations will come in. Rahu will tempt you for the shortcut every time. You will never be completely satisfied with that area of your life where is Rahu D9. And check the aspects Rahu makes from that house. Temptations come in there to the D9 Navamsa houses 5 and 9, specifically from Rahu. And the area where we have Rahu in our D9, the shocks, those destined events that shock us. Oh, I didn't know this about that person, that situation. Wow, what have I dug up here? What sudden, unexpected experiences come? Rahu D9 shows us those as well. Rahu in the Navamsa specifically brings our desired relationship situation to some fruition. If it is a karmic bond from past life, it's very clear to see in the D9 Navamsa. Check for connections of the first Lord D9 with either Rahu Ketu, specifically past life Ketu, of course, but it can be either, and the 7th Lord as well. But don't forget, this can show D1 and D9, and when it shows both, well, there you go. When the karmic rope is clearly affecting marriage, relationships, D1 and D9 by seeing the lordships, then there is just simply no escape from this person. And we're going to see a definite chart showing this very clearly. What is Ketu? In every chart, Ketu is that point of detachment where we detach ourselves from this binding karmic rope. Here's something special, everyone. No matter how deep, how binding, how difficult and challenging are these karmas, whether it's relationship, whether it's life situations which are challenging, Ketu shows the way out. He is the key. Ketu is the key to freedom. And it isn't just moksha, liberation. It is the little clink in that knot, if you like, that little bit of looseness, which if you pull at it will free you from these binding karmas. So Ketu, look at it very carefully, can free you from many terribly difficult situations. You have to detach yourself mentally. That's the first thing. And not just the house, but also the sign. Sign, where is Ketu, helps us to free ourselves from the compulsivity and obsessions of Rahu. However, please note that Ketu is past life directly. Therefore, strong past life relationship situations, D9, will be shown where is Ketu. Specifically, conjunctions to Ketu or the aspects of any other planet to Ketu D9. We are pulled to continue some past life drama. We didn't complete it. We had loose ends. And Ketu will absolutely force us to finish this off now. So Rahu is the compulsivity. Ketu is the past life connection. And they come together to bind us. That's the whole point. Now, this video, we're checking the houses, but the sign changes everything. The sign of Rahu, sign of Ketu, carries those karmas for you. When it is favorable sign for either of them, don't forget, when it's favorable for Rahu, it will be favorable for Ketu by sign. When it is unfavorable for Rahu's placement, it will equally be unfavorable for Ketu. They are an axis. Check the links below. Rahu karmas all signs, Ketu karmas all signs. Apply them in your D9. However, here, for the sake of clarity, I will touch on the tattva differences by the element: fire, earth, air, water. Rahu is too intense when he's in fire signs D9. He's an air planet and he needs coolness for his head to think properly. He can't think. You become impulsive. Rahu Aries, Rahu Leo, Rahu Sagittarius. You're burning up with desire. Relationships become impulsive, all-consuming, and they can quickly become out of control. Because Ketu will be in an air sign and he doesn't like to be there either. He's fire. So there's a mistrust, there's a mismatch happening with your emotions and desire to detach yourself. Ketu can't detach himself when he's being whipped up, you see. So this can be a very difficult situation. Somehow, the best advice, Rahu fire signs, is to cool yourself down by meditation, quietness, a little bit of solitude, anything where you calm down this raging nature of this Rahu. You are too impulsive, too over the top in your emotions, even especially when the moon gets involved. You've definitely got to calm this whole axis down. It won't calm down by itself. It can give passionate but difficult relationship situations. On the contrary, when the Navamsa Rahu is in an earth sign, in his exaltation Gemini, in Libra, in his own sign Aquarius, he's super powerful. Your communication is spot on. Now, there can be afflictions to this Rahu. You could be a little bit manipulative, a bit secretive even, who knows. You will get around many relationship problems simply by talking to your spouse. You have fantastic skill of communication. Very seductive Rahu, if you decide to be so. And Ketu will be in a fire sign. So when he's finished with the relationship, he will burn his bridges. He will go. So this Rahu Ketu doesn't get stuck normally in too many difficult situations. You can just walk away perhaps, or you just leave a relationship when it isn't working anymore without too much of a tug. So this can be a little bit of a tough placement for somebody else to have to deal with, this cool-headedness, which you can have, but it can get you out of very sticky situations, and it's fantastic for success, wealth, gain, because Rahu has got every strategy here to get success. And Rahu gets a lot of grounding. Don't forget, he's a wind planet, but he comes down to earth literally and feels content when he's in Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. He gets the ability to make very practical decisions. Relationships are about practicality. What is working for me long term? He is always thinking about this. He is always thinking about wealth, practicality, building for the future. So this is helpful. Of course, you're going to have to see all the other aspects, planets with this Rahu, which may be planets like Mars. That's going to burn things up a little bit, okay? Make it more intense. But generally practical, down to earth, getting good, stable situations happening. Good for your wealth, definitely. Thing is, though, Ketu is in a water sign, and this is also favorable. Why? Because Ketu is about spirituality. So there's an in-depth understanding of spirituality, which you don't call on enough. But when you get stuck in any difficult situation, that spiritual insight will help you. Extremely intuitive when you decide to be so. On the other hand, Rahu in water sign D9 may have a deep spiritual connection in life, a really strong interest in the occult mysteries of life, religion, all of this. Rahu, when he's in Cancer sign, when he's in Scorpio, definitely, and Pisces. But applying this knowledge, sustaining this knowledge to help you in life, maybe not so straightforward. But Rahu can't think straight. He can't think in a logical way. And he's a logical planet. He is all head. But he loses his head. He's drowning in the emotion of Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So when you get overtaken with irrational ideas, emotions, you can't stop them. You can't contain them. There can be suspicion in relationships. There can be jealousy. There could even be spying on the partner, manipulation, anything happening. You just don't feel secure because Rahu doesn't feel safe when he's in water signs. This axis D9 can cause a lot of secrecy, a lot of fear and suspicion, as I say, but definitely you get overwhelmed going round in circles. And the thing is, you don't speak about it. You keep it all hidden inside. You just are afraid a little bit, or just cautious, that's the best, of revealing emotion in relationship. Just like fire sign Rahu D9, water sign D9s can get really obsessed, but here it's getting really secretive obsession, ruminations, taking actions which are secretive. Nobody could possibly know. You could have crushes on people that you never reveal for the whole of your life. There's a lot of depth here, but it can be definitely challenging. Ketu, who is all spirituality, has got himself stuck in an earth sign in this axis. So Ketu will either be in Capricorn sign, in Taurus sign, or in Virgo, where he can't access his higher truth. So this can affect spirituality. You can go off your path in a spiritual sense because of these churning emotions. But check the strength of Ketu, because earth sign Ketu will not stop trying to pull you out of the mess of this, you see. So in the end, through a lot of difficulty and stress, if Ketu is strongly placed D9 in a good house, and definitely having Lord of the D9 or favorable trine Lord with him, he can pull you out of these obsessions. He holds the key still to the freedom. We need some example charts to explore the karmic rope in the D9. 3 charts here that have never been before on my channel, although I plan to publish one before this video. I hope these in-depth analyses will help. Let's start with Eva Braun, the girlfriend and eventually the wife of Adolf Hitler. I've been keeping this chart especially for this Rahu Ketu video because it is such a potent illustration of a completely binding karmic rope. A little bit of background, everybody. Eva Braun met Adolf Hitler when she was only 17 years of age in a photographic studio, 1929. She became a photographer, actually. The relationship with Hitler was very secluded and private. She was rarely ever, as she is here, seen in public with him. Interestingly, at the beginning of their relationship twice, in 1932 and 1935, she tried to kill herself. And after that second attempt, he established her in a big villa in Munich and gave her a chauffeured car. Whatever, she definitely illustrated intense loyalty towards Adolf Hitler. And she was not the only woman that is, associated with him who tried to kill themselves. Check out the video on my channel, Mars D9, where we see Adolf Hitler's chart. Despite all of this, though, Eva Braun showed tremendous dedication and loyalty to Adolf Hitler. Whether she knew of his politics exactly or even understood them, I'm not so sure, but she was dedicated to Hitler the man. That's the thing. When in 1944 there was a failed assassination attempt from within the Nazi Party against Hitler, she swore that she would stay with him until the end, no matter what. And so she was with him in that bunker beneath Berlin as Berlin was completely destroyed and the Allied army, specifically the Russian army, closed in. Here they are looking at the place where Hitler and Eva Braun killed themselves. It's well documented that Adolf Hitler committed suicide by a shot to the head. He killed himself with a gun. At the same time, he was taking no chances. He bit into a cyanide capsule. That mechanism of that dual action is not impossible, but he would have had to practice that type of action. Trigger with the finger, bite into something, and he was taking no chances. He even tested that cyanide batch on his dog Blondie, who died. Eva Braun took the cyanide. So let's start with the birth chart. Libra ascendant, exactly as Adolf Hitler. So that the 7th house for both is Aries, sign of war, sign of violence with afflicted malefics, both charts. I mean, we could do a whole synastry video on this, but let's just stay with this. We don't need synastry to see that this woman is bound in a karmic rope in her relationship. Rahu Ketu in the 1st house and 7th house. I've explained beginning of the video, it doesn't matter which way, whether it's Rahu 1st house or Ketu 1st house, it's a karmic rope, but it is 1-7 axis binding in relationships. A little bit deeper factor I have to bring in here. This binding factor is connecting her at a soul level. A soul level. Why? Because Rahu is the Atmakarika planet. If you don't know about Atmakarika, soul planet, check the video, Atmakarika. Been on my channel for years now. It's helping people understand this. So Rahu can be Atmakarika. Rahu is her soul. So this binding relationship karma is coming from a soul level. It's so deep. Thing to understand about this Saturn Rahu, it's not totally negative in itself because Saturn gets Digbala 7th house strength, and Saturn for Libra is a yoga karaka, brings her to some greatness, and even Rahu gets a Digbala strength 7th house. So it's a very strong combination, but Saturn is in his debility sign, so she gets status, but it doesn't last for long. The relationship brings her some status, but it doesn't last. Now, it all depends on Mars, of course, the end result of this marriage. It all depends on Mangala, he's the Lord, and I could spend the whole video on this Mars. I mean, it's so illustrative. Mars has gone to the 8th house. At the least, this could show separation, divorce after marriage, easily to see, Dustana house. But no, it's much more violent, much more difficult than that. So when she marries, Mars takes off. Mars gets real influence then because she's signed the contract. Mars aspects Venus, her. Mars is in a Dustana aspecting Venus. Venus is in a fanatical sign, Sagittarius. And just as Mars, can you see this, everybody? Mars is the dispositor of Rahu. Venus is the dispositor of Ketu. The end result of the whole karmic rope comes on to this 3rd house Venus, Lord of the Ascendant, in the fanatical sign of Sagittarius, which is also the sign of the battlefield of war situation. And the third house is the 8th from the 8th. In every chart, it can show something about circumstance of death. But there's much more to see here, because we also see that Rahu has his 9th aspect onto Venus. And here's the thing. She was actually in Rahu Venus Dasha when she died. There it is. Rahu, by the way, is poison. Let's go to the D9. Is this fanatical karmic rope, this Saturn connection as well, death, going to be changed? No, it isn't. Is Rahu going to tone down? No, he isn't. He's Vargotama, as is Ketu. Rahu stays in Aries, a dangerous position. Rahu fire sign and Ketu in the earth sign, dangerous. This is a dangerous axis. This way around, I explained at the beginning of the video. So the fanaticism continues on and in fact intensifies when she's in the relationship arena, which is the D9. So we have Rahu Ketu with Saturn again. This time it's Ketu Saturn. The debt is definitely shown to be her debt. It is her debt to a past life situation. How can we say it? Because Saturn is the lord of the D9 from Capricorn with Ketu. A past life karmic connection in relationships, D9. And it's in 10th house. It's going to be public. It's going to be something which she could become famous for. And she certainly attained that. Rahu is particularly difficult 4th house here because he's in Aries. If the actual Tattva sign had changed, it would tone it down. But there's no escaping. D9 is the direct connection to the past life, the Bhagya fortune that we experience. Everybody's coming from past life deeds. So some unfinished karma in relationships, some debt, Saturn, is going to be paid this life. The way when she met Hitler, I think it's very important to bring in Venus. Venus is in the 8th house, Dustana house. And we shall come back to Venus because that was the actual bhukti when she died. But she met him in Mars, Mercury. Mercury being in the opposite sign to Venus. I've explained, haven't I? Check the video in the playlist D9 that we meet spouse when Venus in the D9 becomes activated. In that Mars Dasha, we are triggering the 8th aspect to Saturn, her D9 and Ketu. So that Mars-Mercury connection showed that this was the individual who she had been connected to past life. Very clear Saturn, Ketu here. 7th house is quite simply Adolf Hitler. The sun is here. Sun is a powerful spouse, controlling spouse, maybe politician, leader, government person, all of those things is a sun. The Lord has gone 8 away, a disturbing end to the relationship. Of course, she committed suicide in the Rahu Venus, this 4th house, Karabhava. Rahu in Aries, so dangerous, has his 5th aspect to Venus in the 8th house, to Stana. Could anything have stopped this fate? Answer, everyone, is only Guru. Only Guru can save this karmic rope. I explained that at the beginning of the video. Now, Guru aspects Rahu trines Venus. This may seem like a beautiful grand trine, but it's not that at all. Trine just intensifies the fanatical fire tattva. Don't go down the Western astrology superficial idea of a grand trine. Trines can bring the most terrible karmas forward because the tattva, fire, is being intensified. And this is her Atmakaraka soul. She can't get away from these karmas. So the higher aspect of Jupiter in Sagittarius, which could bring religious understanding guru. Her guru is becoming Adolf Hitler. We have to see it. Jupiter trines Venus. Her guru is becoming Adolf Hitler. Guru, of course, in a female chart is the husband in any case. So she is following him to the death. And you can clearly see it. I'm sure you've spotted it. Saturn is her D9. Saturn is aspecting Guru, destroying Guru. Saturn's third aspect is destroying the house, whereas Jupiter, Sagittarius. And of course, 12th house is the death D9. There it is. Let's check the chart of Queen Mary I of England, the daughter of King Henry VIII, the Queen of England, who is perhaps the most hated in history. Why was she called Bloody Mary? Why was she so hated? Because she went to extreme measures to re-establish Roman Catholicism in England. So many ordinary people were burnt alive at the stake, tortured, hundreds and hundreds. And this was very extreme, even for the age she lived in. And she was also largely despised at the time by huge sections of the population for her marriage to Philip II of Spain, who was a Roman Catholic. However, and we shall look at this in the chart, one of the most interesting and perhaps sad factors about Mary's reign was her at least two false pregnancies called phantom or ghostly pregnancies. This is a real medical condition these days called pseudocyesis, which is medically rare but definitely exists. So her monthly period stopped, her stomach got bigger and bigger and bigger. She would actually go into a confinement area where she would have cradle prepared, nursery prepared, wet nurses engaged, everything. But after 9 months, no birth occurred, no baby came. After 10 months, nothing happened. And here is the actual wooden funeral effigy placed on her coffin during her funeral. This was done for all kings and queens of England so that people could see them, apparently, for the last time. It doesn't look like her face, does it? But just look at the stomach. People have actually connected, historians, these false pregnancies and her inability to produce an heir to the extremism she went to persecute non-Catholics. This was seen to be connected because she believed that she was being cursed by God because she was not converting people quickly enough to the true religion as she saw it. So she increased burning people, torturing people, because she felt that God was cursing her for not doing enough. Finally, as we are exploring Rahu and Ketu, it will not be surprising to learn that the karmic rope binding Mary was not so much her father, not so much husband, but her half-sister Elizabeth, who became Queen Elizabeth I after she died. If you know the history, we shall touch on it. You will not be surprised. So much of the trauma in Mary's life began with the birth of her sister, half-sister Elizabeth. And so much of Elizabeth's early traumas were connected to the existence of her half-sister Mary. Did they hate each other? Probably. It was not an easy relationship. Definitely. They were bound together by tremendously tight karmas to make each other suffer, not even of their own volition. Catholic Mary, Protestant Elizabeth, bound by a Rahu Ketu rope that even continued after death. I will show you this as well. Let's start with the ascendant, everybody. In the birth chart, we have Sagittarius rising, the sign of battlefield, but also religion, Jupiter's sign. The sign of religious extremism when there are malefics afflicting. And my goodness, talk about malefics. We have Mongala strong in Sagittarius, but with Saturn. And Saturn is Madana Karakastana. So he has a bad influence on Mars. It's a dangerous Yama yoga, death yoga. So she is known for this religious extremism. We're focusing on Rahu and Ketu, of course, so we have to look at those. Rahu and Ketu is in the 8th house. Ketu is in the 2nd house. This is a very difficult placement for Rahu, Ketu. In these shadow houses, they are shadow planets. In fact, Rahu, Ketu's placement here in the 8th house, 2nd house, or indeed 2nd, 8th, it can be either way, is called a Sarpa dosha. I have hopefully recently put up a video about Sarpadosh and the 3 main axes it can happen in. And this 2nd and the 8th house here is definitely one of them. This brings in difficult, trying karmas where the soul is escaping from some very difficult entanglements. What you tend to see is trying, troubling family karmas, 2nd house Ketu, and definitely difficulty and trauma, where the life is simply turned upside down. This can happen many times when you have Rahu in the 8th house. It can be positive or negative, and we're going to see both in her life. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start at the beginning because we have to account for this beautiful Venus exalting in Pisces in the house of the early childhood and the mother. Exalted Venus, what a pure and beautiful connection to her mother who adored her. What happiness she had in her childhood. She was given status. She was given honor. She was Princess Mary, heir to the throne of England. Everyone was bowing before her. Her mother adored her, Catherine of Aragon. Her father, Henry VIII, adored her. She was installed as the Princess of Wales, heir to the throne of England. And then, virtually overnight, everything turned around into a horror story. Why? Because Venus, though exalted here and so beautiful, is malefically afflicted. Rahu's full aspect, Mangala's full aspect. Let's just put them in here. Rahu, 9th aspect. Mars, 4th aspect. It's totally malefic. Something shocking. Rahu, I've just explained. Shocking events. Rahu. Something dangerous. Death. Mars is Yama. Death is going to happen. And that's exactly what occurred. At least for the first 9 years of her life, she was in Venus Mahadasha. These blissful childhood conditions were there. And then she went into Moon Dasha and everything changed. What's happening? Moon is the dispositor of Rahu. Moon gives the result of this traumatic 8th house, Rahu. Of course, Rahu is having his full aspect on 2nd aspect. He always has this onto the moon. Shocking event. So as a teenager, when she entered Moon Dasha, everything changed. Her father, Moon is in the 9th house of father, divorces, and in Leo the king, by the way, divorces her mother, marries Anne Boleyn, and Anne Boleyn gives birth to Princess Elizabeth, her half-sibling. Everything is turning around in a shocking and terrible way for Mary. In this Moon Dasha couldn't have been more traumatic. Rahu's 2nd aspect. Moon looking at the house of sibling and the son, the father. Father was behind all of these traumas to her. So she was stripped of her title as Princess Mary. She was simply Lady Mary. Nobody bowed to her anymore. Her sibling, shown by the 3rd house, Moon's aspect, the baby is called Princess Elizabeth. Princess Elizabeth, her half-sibling, is the heir to the throne. And as if that is not traumatic enough, in this moon period, her father makes Mary, Lady Mary now, go and serve as a servant to her baby sibling, who is now Princess Elizabeth. So she has to bow to this baby, but nobody bows to her. And that's not enough. In this Moon Dasha, to top it all, her beloved mother dies. So, I mean, this is most disturbing and dramatic changes for this young lady. It's very clear, isn't it? Moon is a dispositor of Rahu, giving the results of the head of this karmic rope, and it's all happening in the Moon Dasha. She's being connected to this rope of karma with her half-sibling, Elizabeth. Rahu is the lord of the younger sibling. It's beginning to tighten. We come to the D9, everybody. Are we going to see this dramatic and challenging Rahu Ketu, water sign, earth sign, so difficult? Is it going to be less difficult in the D9? No, it is not. Rahu has gone into Scorpio now. This is even more difficult because Rahu Cancer, yeah, but the moon can perhaps tone things down. Here we have Rahu in the sign of his arch enemy, Mangala. Rahu is in Ayush debility when he's in Scorpio. And can you see it's happening right across the chart? Rahu is now in the house of the younger sibling and Ketu of the father. I mean, there we go. The karmic rope is binding her definitely to Elizabeth I, her half-sister, who became Queen Elizabeth I, of course. And Mangala is the dispositor. And look at this Mars. This Mars, however, gets strength. This Mars is in Sagittarius in the D1 and the D9. It is Vargotama. So when she gets into Mars Dasha, when that truly difficult Moon Dasha ends, Moon opposed Saturn here, sorrow, the loss of the mother, we find that her status is restored. Check this out, everyone. In this super strong Vargotama Mangala, more sibling karma comes in, but this time favorable. Mars is her fifth lord, power lord, going to restore her to power, and he aspects 10th house of status. So she's going to get some favorable change of status. What happened was, if you know the history, her father, Henry VIII, beheads Anne Boleyn, gets rid of her, kills her, and he marries again to Jane Seymour, his third wife. And Jane Seymour has a son. She dies having the son, but she has a son, and he becomes naturally the heir to the throne of England, Prince Edward. Of course, Mangala aspects Rahu. You see the big transformation's going to happen in this Mars Dasha, Vargotama Mars, and to her status, because Mars aspects the 10th house of status. What happens is her father restores her to the line of succession. She is no longer Lady Mary, she is Princess Mary again. Second in line now to the throne of England, below her new half-sibling Edward. And Elizabeth goes below her. She no longer has to bow down to this younger sibling Elizabeth. It's reversed. Elizabeth has to bow to her. You know, this is the total transformation, and we see it because Rahu is in the sibling house and he aspects Mangala by his second aspect. But of course, it's after Mars Dasha, when Rahu Dasha comes, that the biggest transformation will happen. So Rahu Dasha, the head of the snake, as I say, the destiny changes, the lord of a destiny chart D9, lord of Virgo. She becomes Queen of England when her younger sibling Edward dies, and she, second in line to the throne, becomes, despite many political factors rising against her, because she is a Catholic still, she attains her biggest status change. Rahu Dasha, she becomes Queen Mary I of England. And the first action she takes is to get married in Rahu Saturn. Rahu Saturn, she marries Philip of Spain. Let's see this marriage, everybody. This happens in Rahu Saturn. 6 houses away, not easy, okay? 2 malefics. And what we see is that Saturn is in debility in the 8th house, right? So she has to get married. She has to produce an heir. She is 38 years of age. A lot of fear around this, by the way. Rahu is in a very fearful sign, Scorpio, and it's not a happy marriage either because Saturn is opposing Moon. Is she personally happy in this marriage? No. There is some loneliness, some lack of connection because Jupiter is the lord of Philip here, first husband, and he is with Saturn and the Sun. Saturn and the Sun, Krura Graha. He's a king. He's exalted Sun. Yes, he's a king. She marries a king, but she is not happy. Saturn is in debility. So she marries a king, but nothing comes of it. No children and no happiness, I'm fairly sure there. And Jupiter and Ketu are the lords of her husband, everybody, in this 7th house of the D9. Let's cut it all down. Look, Jupiter's gone to the 8th house, split in the relationship. Ketu's gone to the 9th house. He's abroad in Spain most of the time. Why? Because when he married her, he was not king of Spain, but Guru is with the Sun, exalted Sun. He became king. Sun, exalted Aries, during their marriage, and he spent most of his time away in foreign lands. So she hardly saw him, and even then they were not really very close. Then we have the false pregnancy, pseudocyesis. This was in Rahu, Saturn, Jupiter. We can see this is all about the 8th house where Saturn is in complete debility. Saturn, Marana Karakastana. Saturn, death-like situation with Mars, the lord of the children house. So she does not have good karmas for having children to begin with. She was 38 when she married. Now, pseudocyesis, ghostly phantom pregnancy, we know now is connected to two things: psychological trauma, stress, and definitely hormonal changes. Talk about stress in the Rahu Dasha. Look at this Rahu. It's strong by house. She gets power. She becomes queen. It's the lord of her destiny. She becomes queen. We've seen it. She's free, 3rd house, to do stuff, but she can't do it easily because Rahu is in Ayush, debility in Scorpio. It's not good for her health. It isn't good for her mental health. She's hugely stressed and pressured and even fearful because Scorpio shows unconscious fears. The pressure to produce an heir is so strong and she's fearful. She's not supported by this husband at all. We've just discussed that. The next thing is that Rahu is aspecting Mangala by his 2nd aspect, the lord of Rahu. Hope you're following me. So that this Mars produces health problems. The 4th house D9 is Karabhava. Check my video, houses D9. This Mars, dispositor of Rahu Dasha, is in the house of health problems, mental health and physical health. Of course, there will be hormonal problems. She's 38 when she marries. She's a virgin till she's 38 when she marries, and she is probably perimenopausal, but it's the mental stress, this Rahu Mars. What is the stress? It isn't just that she has to produce an heir. There's more to it than that. It's her religion. She's a Catholic, and if she does not produce an heir, a Roman Catholic heir, who will follow her to the throne? Not her husband, no, her half-sibling Protestant Elizabeth. The stress of the sibling, the fear of the sibling succeeding her is so strong. Because you see the karmic rope cuts to the 9th house, Ketu, of religion, authority figures, the Pope. The Pope in Rome is looking to Queen Mary to convert England again to the Roman Catholic faith. I mean, talk about pressure. It couldn't be more extreme, could it? Very simple to see this pseudo-Saisis even in the birth chart, everybody. What's happening? She's in Rahu Dasha when she marries, and Rahu has his second aspect to the moon in the D1. The ninth house is a house of pregnancy for female. Can she get pregnant? Rahu is afflicting the moon, damaging the moon by his powerful, dangerous second aspect. Moon is the mind. She believes she's pregnant, but she's not. Mars is the lord of pregnancy. It's with Saturn. Late marriage Saturn, Yama Yoga. It's difficult, we have discussed. She isn't karmically going to have kids, but she believes she is. Rahu afflicts the mind in the house of pregnancy. The violence of her religious beliefs as well. Why? She was not fanatically Catholic before. She deeply believed in her religion, but when she couldn't have children, Rahu Mangala in Rahu Dasha comes into effect. Mars, Yama Yoga D1. Can you see? Aspected by Rahu. Mars aspects Rahu. Extremism. Mars in the sign of fire sign, burning, religious executions, Rahu, Mars. It's pretty horrid, isn't it? She believed that she was cursed by God. If she didn't convert people to Catholicism, she had to take extreme measures. Even the Pope thought she was going a little bit over the top, and he was encouraging her to convert people. But the extreme violence of this Rahu Mangala. Mars in the house of the country, D9, fire sign. Well, there it is, isn't it? What was going on? Ketu shows her religious inclination, but it's weak by sign. She cannot bring out the desired result. She cannot restore England to the Catholic faith. After her second phantom pregnancy, she died in Rahu Ketu. She'd only been married a few years, 2 definite false pregnancies, and she was forced on her deathbed, Rahu Ketu, to name her successor, which all the monarchs had to do if they could. She had to do the thing she'd never wanted to do, the Rahu Ketu rope sibling. She has to name Elizabeth, her half-sibling, the Protestant Elizabeth, as the heir to the throne of England. She has failed to bring England back to the true faith as she saw it. Finish by just quickly looking at Mary I and Elizabeth I, who followed her as queen, her half-sister, the karmic rope binding them in their D9 charts. Both of them have Rahu Ketu axis in the 3rd house of sibling and the 9th house of father, but they are exactly opposite signs. This is an amazing factor binding these two beings. They were both daughters of King Henry VIII of England, same father, different mother, and we've just seen how they were bound together and influenced each other in the ups and downs of their destiny. What an illustration of the importance of the ruling planet D9. They are both Virgo ascendant D9, therefore Rahu, Lord of the snake sign, of course, Rahu Ketu, is actually ruling both destiny charts, D9. But for Mary, we've seen Rahu is weak by sign. Ayush debility, strong by house. She becomes queen in the Dasha, but she cannot make the changes she desires because of the weakness by sign of Rahu Ketu. But for Elizabeth, Rahu the Lord is strong by sign. I've discussed Taurus, how strong. She is a political genius. In worldly affairs, she is magnificent. She is a successful queen, ruler, a political genius, as I say. Check her chart in my chart analysis playlist, which is, of course, from the D9 Venus video. For Elizabeth, it's strong by sign, weak by house. She's a political genius, absolutely, but the weakness by house means that there were threats to her life many times. Ruler of the D9. from foreign powers, from religious factions. Even the Pope called her a heretic. So people were out to kill her, but she survived. She could not be killed because of the strength of Rahu. We've seen her chart. Check it out, as I say, D9 Venus video. There was even a point when Mary had to imprison Elizabeth with the threat of death over Elizabeth when she became Queen Mary I. And there was this big rebellion. Thomas Watt, Elizabeth's name was associated. So even there was threat to her life. Her life was always under threat, but she survived by the strength of this Rahu. So these two siblings then, Rahu Ketu is binding them through their father and with each other. But you see, the rope is so strong, it is going to continue even after death. Here we have the tomb of Queen Elizabeth I of England in Westminster Abbey. Here she is in this statue, top of the tomb, but she does not lie alone. Who is with her? She had no husband, she had no children. You can guess it. There is a Latin epitaph at the base of this tomb, which reads, in English of course, "Partners in throne and grave, here we sleep, Elizabeth and Mary, sisters in the hope of the resurrection." Against the desire of both, Elizabeth never desired to be buried with her half-sister Mary, and Mary certainly never desired it. Her desire was to be buried with her beloved mother, Catherine of Aragon. But they brought them together in the end because it's all about Catholic, Protestant, and they were trying to show unity. But really, they were never partners in throne, that's for sure. And certainly, most certainly though, they were bound together by a karmic rope of Rahu and Ketu, everybody. That was so strong, we've just seen it, that even after death, there was no breaking it. Let's check the charts now of the iconic and revolutionary American poet, Sylvia Plath. Everything written and films about Sylvia Plath, biopics and everything, concentrate more than anything on her disturbed relationship with her husband, Ted Hughes, fellow poet. Here she is with their children. Now, Sylvia Plath killed herself aged 30, and her husband, Ted Hughes, has been directly blamed for her death. Feminists in particular have vilified Hughes as a terrible example of patriarchal abuse and all the rest of it, and made a martyr of Sylvia Plath. And again, feminists have made an absolute crusade of defacing her gravestone, removing Hughes's name. Again and again, her daughter Frida has had to continually make this good, and this is an ongoing problem. Important to understand, though, that Sylvia Plath had definite mental health problems way before she ever met Ted Hughes. She gained scholarships, though. She was academically brilliant, to the prestigious Smith College, America, and to the University of Cambridge, United Kingdom. But twice at university, she attempted to take her own life. At the time, she was treated with electric convulsive therapy, ECT therapy. That was the conventional treatment for major depression. But actually, posthumously, experts, psychologists, psychiatrists, whoever, have looked at her life, looked at her writing and said, no, there is something more going on here than simply depression. And we are definitely going to see that in her horoscope. Start with the D1 chart then, the birth chart, Aquarius rising. This is interesting because Rahu is in the first house. The karmic rope, Rahu Ketu, is across the first seventh axis, one of the positions indicating a Sarpa dosha. And so this Rahu Ketu D1 is showing us the general karmas. It is a past life Ketu relationship situation. Ketu with Guru. Guru is the husband, Guru is children, by the way. Definitely both Ted Hughes and her children, there was some deep karmic connection. When she met Ted Hughes is more evidence. We don't need synastry. When did she meet him? Rahu Ketu period. There he is. He manifests straight away. He is this Ketu. He is this person who she has unfinished karma with. It's very clear. And the Lord of this house has gone to the 9th house, foreign land. So she meets him in Cambridge, United Kingdom. And in this Rahu Dasha, the Lord of her chart, she squeezes in everything. In these 18 years, from the time she was 12 until the moment she died in the last month of Rahu Dasha, Rahu Mars. We shall come back. Everything happened to her. It's all shown by the aspects. Rahu, her Lord, aspects the 9th house, goes into higher education, gets brilliant success. Sun, Mercury there, Atmakarika, Mercury, brilliant success, becomes a writer. Rahu, Mercury, unique creativity. Gets married, Rahu Ketu, has children, Rahu aspects the 5th house. But one of the key factors must not be ignored is if the other Lord, Saturn, of this Rahu Dasha and her ascendant Lord has gone 12 to himself. She goes into foreign land. She gets a bit of isolation there, Saturn, but Saturn's in Capricorn. This is a very strong stoic position. Saturn Capricorn can give inner strength, resilience, but she can't draw on it because of the affliction. Because Saturn is involved in a toxic triangle, opposed Mars, 10th aspect to the Sun, Mars aspects the Sun. Saturn Mangala in particular is an unmada yoga, yoga which can cause mental health distress, concerns, and even here psychosis because the Sun gets involved. As soon as she entered into higher education, of course, Venus is gone. 12 to itself, Lord of higher education. This moon kicks off. This Monakarikastana weak moon with Papakartari on it. Her mind is disturbed. She's feeling desperate. She's having suicidal ideation. She's depressed and all the rest of it, certainly. But I don't think that she is simply a depressive. There is a definite personality factor here because of the Sun. This weak Sun, any affliction to the Sun can give personality disorders, and this Sun is serially afflicted. Sun is ego, of course, sense of self, and I've seldom seen a Sun so afflicted. First of all, debilitated Sun, Libra, and on top of that, Rahu afflicts. We've seen Saturn, 10th aspect afflicts, Mangala afflicts, and Sun is even the dispositor of Ketu. So every single malefic is destroying this Sun. Fractured sense of self, I mean, that's being positive about it. Now, what sort of personality disorder? Psychosis? Narcissistic personality? I would say no, because all the evidence goes against it because of this. So many times she has harmed herself, and that is not typical of narcissism. Suicide is not typical of narcissistic personality, but borderline personality has been suggested. I would say definitely yes. Borderline personality, completely destroyed and fractured sense of self and identity. Difficulty, therefore, in relationships and a deep-seated jealousy and fear of abandonment, certainly there. More than that, the Sun is father in every horoscope. In the house of the father, afflicted by all of the malefics, can you see father is gone? Father dies when she is 8 or 9. And even more, Sun is the husband. Sun is 7th house lord. So she is conflating the image of the lost father with the husband. And she is seeing affliction from both. This is very, very deep. Let's just have a quick look at that famous poem, Daddy, actually. Let her speak for herself, because this iconic poem, it's a pretty deep thing, was written just a few months before she ended her own life. You stand at the blackboard, Daddy, in the picture I have of you, and cleft in your chin instead of your foot, but no less a devil for that, no, not any less the black man who bit my pretty red heart in two. And I was 10 when they buried you. At 20, I tried to die and get back to you. I thought even the bones would do. But they pulled me out of the sack and they stuck me together with glue, and then I knew what to do. I made a model of you, a man in black with a Mein Kampf look and a love of the rack and the screw. And I said, I do. So daddy, I'm finally through. The black telephone's off at the root. The voices just can't worm through. If I've killed one man, I've killed two. The vampire who said he was you and drank my blood for a year. 7 years if you want to know, daddy. You can lie back now. There's a stake in your fat black heart, and the villagers never liked you. They are dancing and stamping on you. They always knew it was you. Daddy, you be. I'm through. What's it all about? Well, if you've studied Sylvia Plath, and I have not particularly studied her, but it's really obvious, she's talking about her father and the hole in her heart that is lost because of him. The role model she never had. Rahu aspecting ninth house. It's perfect, isn't it? It's even more deep than we could imagine. She is needing that father figure, and she's seeing that father figure in Ted Hughes, who she now describes as a vampire. Of course, that was just a snippet from the whole long poem. It's full of metaphors of Nazi concentration camps and, like herself as a victim of torture. It's a deep thing, but you see, it's exposing this deep feeling of vulnerability within herself. Let's go to the D9 now. That was quite an analysis, right? Rahu Ketu in the D9, this karmic rope binding her. We see past life influences here very, very deeply. This time, Rahu's 5th house, Ketu's 11th house, another axis of a Sarpadosh. And Rahu is in a fire sign. I described beginning of the video, fire sign, Rahu can go over the top, can be disturbed, have relationship disturbances, obsessions, difficulty. But in this 5th house, it is tremendously creative, a huge creative potential. So deep karma is about having children, but check, Mars has gone 12th to itself, and it is in Papakatari, so something desperate's going to happen there, which definitely occurred. Rahu Ketu, of course, when she met Ted Hughes, we have discussed Rahu Ketu Dasha, but Jupiter with Ketu here confirms past life relationship continuing, because Guru is the Lord of the ascendant D9, of the Lagna D9. This is her. She is connecting compulsively to this relationship. She cannot escape it. Of course, Jupiter has full aspect onto this Mercury in the 7th house of relationships. This Mercury tells us everything about Ted Hughes. Why? Because Mercury is her Atmakarika, sense of soul. That's another deeper analysis. But Mercury is him. Mercury is Ted Hughes. We have discussed, or maybe I didn't, but check out, Mercury is with the Sun, Lord of the relationship. So she's got a soul connection here, Guru aspects. As soon as she meets him, strong attraction pull, even an enormous sexual attraction. Why? Because Mercury is in Mithuna. Mithuna is the sign of sexuality. He was a very sexual person. And of course, he was a writer, poet, Mercury successful, Mercury own sign, and her Lord aspect. So she was a writer as well, and there was that certain commonality between them. But note, Mercury is in Maranakaraka. It's in a weak house, 7th house. Mercury, 7th house, we can often see difficulty with commitment. Who's having the difficulty? He is, because Mercury is the Lord of 7th house, husband, partner, cannot commit. He was a serial womanizer. Basically, he was always like that in every relationship, with her, with the next relationship, even in his long-term marriage, there were love affairs. That was who he was. He's certainly not committing to her, and she is feeling like in a death-like desperate situation. Buddha, and he's feeling it too. Mars afflicts, so there can be domestic 4th house violence even, or some deep unrest between them. It's not going to last because Mangala is the lord of the separation house and it is afflicting Buddha. And 6 months before she actually killed herself, she again attempted suicide, this time driving her car into a river. Rahu moon, waterway of course, Papakatari moon, desperate state, but here moon exalts D9, so she did not succeed. Her life was preserved. Let's just hear quickly from Ted Hughes now. What was it like being with Sylvia Plath? Ted Hughes said that tending to her, Plath's insecurities, was like trying to protect a fox from my own hounds while the fox bit me. Very interesting. So in Mangala, Bhukti, Rahu, Mangala, he leaves her permanently then and she's left alone in that 1963 cold winter in the UK, in their flat in London. So much has been written about that. And we have seen that she probably does have borderline personality, deep insecurity, fear of abandonment. So, of course, when he leaves, Rahu Mangala Dasha, she goes into a deep problem of psychosis. Mangala Saturn, Unmada Yoga, Mangala aspect Saturn, Mangala aspect Sun, Mangala aspects Rahu. In the D9, this Mars is in a desperate situation. It's the lord of the death house in the 4th house D9. 4th house D9 is a Karabhava. I've explained about these deep meanings of D9 houses in my D9 house video on the playlist. Check it out. So Karabhava, malefic, Mangala, especially with Papakatari, Saturn, Rahu, is going to lead to a very dangerous situation. So she commits suicide then, and she does this by means of coal gas, town gas, which was piped into every home in the UK at that time. She dies of carbon monoxide poisoning in her own kitchen. Mangala aspects Saturn. Saturn is gas. Mangala aspects Rahu. Rahu is carbon monoxide. Poisons. Rahu is every poison. Same thing, D9. Mangala is squeezed between Saturn, Rahu. Saturn is Vayu, wind, gas, and Rahu is poison. Papakatari, there we are. And of course, Mangala is Karika for kitchens, Karika for cooking, Karika for ovens, of course. And he is in 4th sign, Cancer, the home, kitchen, and 4th house here as well. Of course, Sylvia Plath deeply did love her children, and it has been written about so many times what she did to protect them, to systematically protect them in that flat from the effect of the coal gas. You can check that out. Finally, these Rahu Ketu Sarpa karmas, these karmic rope indications do not always end with death. We've already seen that, haven't we, with the Mary the First chart, and here we can see it. Mars is the lord of Rahu D9. He's gone 12 to himself in a Papakatari. Mars is children. Saturn, Rahu affliction, is a Pitri dosha. So these are karmas going down the line, coming from the forefathers. These are very afflicting factors. Now her daughter Frida is alive. She's an elderly lady now, but she's continually dealing, we have described, with the continual vandalism of her mother's grave. She was particularly close to her father, Ted Hughes. But Sylvia Plath's son, who was only a baby when she died, has unfortunately taken his own life. That happened recently. He became a scientist, by the way, so you can check about that. These karmas, as I say, they continue down. These are Pitri Dosh. D9 houses reading now. The first house, Rahu. The seventh house has Ketu in your D9. You are a trendsetter. Your destiny is to do something new, do something different. But how do you know it's different? Because you can't remember past lives, right? But still, you will feel this huge impetus to start something, to go against trends, go against societal norms. In some ways, this can be extremely helpful. Career-wise, you can be an absolute innovator. This placement often seen with politicians, scientists, revolutionary people who are just doing something that actually sets society going in a completely different direction. It's a revolutionary placement. It is not stuck in the past. It is going forward. So politicians, scientists, researchers, all of these things. And of course, Rahu has got everything to do with computers, computer science, everything to do with artificial intelligence. So all of these things could be big somehow in your destiny. Now, depending on sign, aspects, etc., you can be charismatic. You can have a very, very strong personality. Sometimes, though, you're not totally sure of yourself. You see, it all depends on the aspects, but you feel the need to get attention, and you will get attention. People follow you. This particular placement, D9, can give fame, can give a reputation in society. Small scale though, you are extremely independent. Go your own way. Can't be told what to do. You will always prefer to find things out for yourself in your whole destiny. But having the axis here in the intimate personal relationship causes a little bit of stress. It is a Sarpa aspect when it is in the first house, seventh house, either way, Rahu Ketu. So spouse is a destiny making situation. And sometimes with so much emphasis on your own destiny making situation, you can occasionally take spouse partner for granted. There is this tendency there. Especially when there are more planets with Rahu than with Ketu, we would definitely see that tendency. More planets with Ketu than the first relationship, marriage, long-term commitment is hugely karmic, and you are pulled compulsively towards it. And this axis gives compulsions in relationships, sometimes obsessional tendencies, a little bit of OCD around relationships. There is a deep insecurity there, deep down sometimes. So you either take the spouse for granted, take the partner for granted and just don't think about it at all, or you are obsessing over the relationship. It's generally one extreme or the other. Once again, seventh house is all relationships, but specifically for a spouse. So for a spouse can actually take you on a karmic journey where you are over again repeating past life situation. But you have to see seventh house Lord where it's gone. Can't just say that for sure with this Ketu. Sometimes first spouse has a deep spiritual connection and you are going to be taken into a new spiritual experience even in this relationship, but it does demand attention. There is this big tendency to become detached, to not give attention to the spouse, and then things can completely go wrong, of course, completely break down. But you have to see the Lord of this house before you make any conclusions. When you have Rahu, second house D9, Ketu, eighth house, it's a family connection, family karma. Something about family of birth has a connection which is rope-like binding for you. And important karmas connected to your family will affect your destiny completely. Once again, just like first house Rahu, check the other positions, first house, third house, to make sure that this is meaningful for you, because a few minutes either way, as I've said, can actually change D9 ascendant. Your family of origin, there is some deep karma there. Sometimes elements connecting to foreign lands in that family. Very often a large family with a really big impact on the community, this sort of thing. It's an unusual and revolutionary type of family, not the average people next door, yeah? Your family is unusual in some way. And because it's a Sarpa connection here, second house, eighth house, there are deep karmas coming through all family members. So your whole destiny, as I say, is driven by your family of origin and the morals and the belief systems that they give to you will be absolutely fundamental. If they're not a moral family, this can affect you. If they have high morals, high ideals, this will affect you. And your early upbringing, childhood can be having sudden shocking events, sudden disjointed things happening where you need to move, where you may be born abroad and have to come back to the country of origin, where you may be in the country of origin but you have to move abroad when you are young. Okay, so as a child, things can be very topsy-turvy with this axis. K2, of course, has gone to the 8th house. Now, this affects marriage relationships in a specific way in connection to your first relationship, and if it continues, the next relationship, should you have one. Because K2 is in this deep 8th house, first of all, you are carrying past life knowledge, past life wisdom. And this could be astrological, this could be occult, because that's what K2 is all about. This could be deep spiritual practice, which you are here to continue. This may be within family of origin, or you may have to leave family of origin to find this past life connection, but you are deeply connected to some past spiritual wisdom, that is for sure. Now, what your first spouse will be, the whole chart has to be seen. Sign here, planets, okay? But if K2 connects in any way to this sign, if you have Taurus ascendant and you have K2 here, if you have Virgo ascendant and you can have K2 here, this could give some stresses in the first relationship. There must be a deep spiritual bond, a deep commitment to make the relationship work for those ascendants. Otherwise, it's about support from your first spouse, okay? Whatever ascendant you have, D9. Do you get support? Do you feel sustained in this relationship? K2 shows a little bit of detachment here. Either you do not feel supported, and so you become very independent of your first spouse, or there is a deep connection. Even though you are not maybe outwardly supported, there's an inward karmic connection. Now, whether your first relationship marriage will last or not cannot be seen by this K2. You must see 7th house, planets, Lord, and everything else we have discussed on this series. But for whatever reason, if it does not continue, then the second relationship will be shown by the sign where you have Rahu. So if you marry again, or if there is another long-term commitment, it will be with a Rahu type person. This means that first relationship could end suddenly or in a shocking way, or that you just become very disloyal, and so you need to be careful about all the morals here and all the ethics, okay? Be really ethical if you are not happy with your spouse when you have Rahu here, because you can tend to just split off or not be honest or become secretive, and that's never helpful. But if everything else is okay and you do have another relationship, then it could be with a person from distant shores or a very unusual and individualistic spouse. You have Rahu gone to the third house of your D9 chart and Ketu's in the ninth. By house, this is a very strong placement indeed. Rahu does extremely well when he's in third house and Ketu in the ninth house. But check that the signs are equally strong. We have seen a few charts where this is not the case. Rahu, if he's in a strong sign, is especially potent here. Same for Ketu. The desire of this Rahu is to communicate something with society. You have a message. You have a need to be heard. You have something to say to society. This can be political. This can be within the media. This could be artistry as well. Music skill, writing skill, definitely, particularly writing skill, and communicating a message with the public. Fantastic for writer, fantastic for media presenter, journalist, all of these things. When you are speaking, when you are communicating, Rahu gives charisma here to your speech. Fantastic for politicians, obviously, to have this, but your ideas are outside of the box. What you are communicating, whether it's as a writer, artist, journalist, politician, is a little bit radical, is different. But in D9 chart, third house is a house of sexuality. So sometimes there can be alternate sexuality occasionally, or you are driven to unusual type of relationships, attachments. It normally gives strong sexuality, okay? But that can be changed by the sign and by the aspects. Very often you are attracted to people from a completely different country or a completely different social group. People who are different to the sort of people who you grew up with. That can be seen. Because K2's driving you past life connections in this D9 chart, there can be past life connections to people, distant shores, as I say, foreign shores, or even long distance relationship situations can develop. And it can give all sorts of temptations here. It's a very strong willful factor because third house is about establishing will. So you're very independent, very determined to make a mark in society by doing something dramatic. And in relationships, you definitely have unusual relationship situations. And the karmic rope is binding you to your siblings, whether they're full siblings, half siblings, younger sibling, elder sibling, doesn't matter. There is a rope to these beings who become your siblings in this life. Very unusual situations can develop with siblings. Sometimes there can be an unknown K2 sibling coming up. Sometimes there's a shocking event connecting two siblings, but connecting two siblings and their karma entwines with you in this lifetime. Finally, K2 is a deep spiritual factor here. In his most strong house, ninth house, a deep spiritual connection comes for you from past life. Unfinished sadhana, unfinished connection to God, unfinished philosophical exploration. You are here to continue with it in this lifetime. So there is a very strong pull to a tradition, religion, spiritual experience. This could go any way depending on your birth chart, but the past life rope has brought this connection to be completed. So you have to explore spirituality this life because it is continuing from your past life experience and it is absolutely compulsive. And K2 gives. So on the one hand, this gives a deep knowledge, spirituality, but on the other hand, K2 is loss, K2 is detachment. So you could become detached completely, atheistic from all religious understanding, or you could go from one to the other, never settling, like a wanderer, because K2 is always moving, always wandering. So this could be about exploring different religions and able to settle on one absolute belief system. But either way, the exploration will be there. We have the Rahu Ketu axis, Rahu in the 4th, Ketu in the 10th. It's another extremely strong position for this axis to be. It's a little bit of a Kalsop factor as well because it's in Kendra, but not as strong as 1-7. Rahu's come into the home situation, but the 4th house D9 let's not forget straight away, has to do with health. It's a Karabhava. So this is important. This has health indications that we need to check as well. But if Rahu's strong by sign, you can spend a lot of time in your home, a lot of time dealing with the home, renovating the home, buying property. Landed interest is a big desire factor. You desire to have a big property or to own properties or to rent them out. Making money and success from property is a very big factor. But this karmic rope is binding you first and foremost to your country of birth. You may travel, you may go to different places. Does this mean foreign location? Not necessarily, no. This means that you have deep karmas connected to the politics of your country. You could be politician, mover and shaker, doing something different and unique in your own country of birth. Time, of course, Rahu is foreign land. This is the thing. There's a deep karmic rope binding you to your place of birth, to your country, to your homeland, but you'll be traveling away from it continually, perhaps, depending on the aspects to this Rahu, because the natural fourth house, D9, is linked by it being in D9 to the 12th house. So foreign travel, spend a lot of time at home but become restless. It's a big dichotomy. This karmic rope affects country and status in the world. Rahu is politics. Now this does not mean you will be politician, not necessarily at all, but you are influenced by them in your home life and in your relationship situation big time. Politics and politicians have a big impact on your personal destiny. Here's the other thing. This is homeland. Rahu is desire. This karmic rope has bound you to your country of birth. You're bound to it. You desired to be here and here you are again. Here you go. And you may desire to be somewhere else, but in the end, you normally always come home. Of course, is about emotional regulation. Rahu stops the regulation of emotions. There are deep conflicting emotions here, especially when there are more malefics aspecting, okay, which you do not always express in relationships easily. Churning emotions, difficulty, insecurity can all be there. And this can come out in domestic conflicts, arguments in relationships. Worst case, when there are more malefics afflicting only, there can be violent situations occasionally happening. Now, this can also affect health as well, because all of this unexpressed emotion churning inside can affect health. Sometimes therapy, body work, or all sorts of different therapies, modern therapies can help this Rahu find true expression. There can be big concerns about food intake here because it's a natural house of Cancer house food intake. There can be overeating, undereating, some food disorders can be there. And medicine, pharmaceutical, be careful and watch reactions to them. Always take advice. Now, Ketu's in 10th house here. This is past life, uncompleted action, because 10th house is about karma's actions in the world, deeds. You didn't complete some career, didn't complete some action, and you're going to finish it off this life. You will be karmically drawn to complete these deeds. What will they be? See by the sign. See where the Lord has gone. See D10 chart as well, definitely. But it's a fire planet in this house. So this is wonderful for so much energy given towards career. But it can burn out. It could burn out at some point. So pacing, not going over the top, because this is a very all or nothing placement where you give everything and then all of a sudden you're completely flat, completely burned out, okay? Once you have finished those karmas, then you think, well, now what do I do? And that's the issue. So at the end of life, or when you have finished some definite career path, K2 comes in and says, now is the time to just give service. Now is the time to just help others. Be there for others, okay? So if you don't do that, you can feel lost in life. You can be going round in circles, and even financially, it could be difficult. So when you have completed certain goal, know that was that past life unfinished karma. Now is the time for your spiritual development. Finally, K2 is a fire planet, as I say, just like Sun and Mangala. So Sun in this 10th house D9, Mangala 10th house, K2 10th house, very often seen in the horoscopes of astrologers. When you have Rahu, the North Node, in the 5th house, in the D9 Navamsa, K2 goes into the 11th house. Rahu is the past life desire. We have discussed bringing you here. In the D9, this relates directly to a need for status. You desired status, and now you will have the opportunity in some capacity to achieve it. This 5th house in the D9, check my video again. I keep on telling you, but you have to check it out. Houses in the D9 has an implication of 1st house. It's about who you are, how you appear to the public. So you can come across totally charismatic, very much a leader sometimes, someone who stands out, someone who has enormous charisma and ability to influence other people. This will be shown. You tend to attract powerful partners where you can have rise in status in life through marriage. That can be seen, but also it's definitely equally going to happen through your own actions, charisma, magnetism, and talent. Rahu is in the house of talent. What is that talent? Check the sign, check the aspects. It could be political, it could be acting, it could be artistic, it could be anything, but you have talent doing it and you create a following from this. And you can be popular, hugely popular with this, having an almost fanatical fan base, okay, depending on your level of fame in the world. But you have to watch ego because Rahu aspects the 1st house. And this Rahu gives a deep need to care for others, actually. Even in the most masculine chart, there is this factor of protection coming in here, okay? Rahu, the snake, coiling around the children, right? Need to protect them, male or female. There can be lack of kids, or if there are kids, they can have struggles, but you are definitely bound to them. They can even have fame, but further binding you to their individual karmas in a very big way. And K2, destiny planet from past life, you see, is gone to the 11th house. You are bound to the society, the bigger communal society you take birth in. So there is some unfinished connections there which you have to complete, some deeds which you have to do to serve society in some way. And this will take an enormous amount of energy. This could go on all of your life. I mean, this is not going to give up. K2 is a fire planet in this 11th house. Once you've finished one set of karmas, there's another whole pile of deeds which you can have to do, okay? So there's a ceaseless need to achieve, a ceaseless need to work. This can be an absolute workaholic placement. But there can be feeling of at some point where you have to let go, where you can't control it anymore, where you can't make things happen the way you would like. This is a big difficulty with this karmic K2 D9 because this 11th house has a 7th house factor. There may be loss in some relationship due to past life karma. So you can get together with some special past life person, and then when it's finished, that's the end of it. But you have to see the whole chart. There is definitely completion of past life karmic connections, whether it is relationship, friendships, or occasionally siblings happening. When Rahu is in the 6th house and Ketu is in the 12th, an extremely strong axis, not a super axis, giving strength to Rahu, strength to Ketu, but actually can cause some difficult situations in relationships occasionally, but give strength to the individual destiny. This Rahu karmic rope past life indications are about enmity, about competition. There's always competitors. There's always some cutting edge enmity. As soon as there is competition, you're rising up and ready for the fight. That's for sure. And this will impact personal, intimate relationships. Nothing goes exactly smoothly because you always feel this little bit of an edge, where you are cautious that you do not want to be exploited. That's the thing. It goes without saying you are excellent lawyer, excellent dealing with all sorts of competition, excellent dealing with contention, financial problems, all of these things. But you do tend to get a lot of legal battles. You do tend to attract situations which lead to a dispute. And because Rahu aspects 7th house, this can be business, and of course it is going to come in to the intimate relationship, particularly with first spouse. This can be seen. And because Rahu's full drishti, second drishti, sees coming on to this first spouse, first intimate long-term relationship, they tend to be unusual. Somebody not in the normal course of events, maybe foreign shores, maybe somebody from a different culture, perhaps. But here's the thing, they also tend to be different, very unique and individualistic people. And therefore, there is a sort of difference between you, some sort of struggle. You are attracted to them because of this uniqueness, but struggle happens, difficulty happens, but still, see, 7th Lord, if it is strong, relationship survives. But very often you will find that you have to adjust yourself to a very, very independent and strong partner. Now, the more malefics are in this house, like Mars, Sun even, you're going to really struggle to maintain equilibrium here. It really is best to avoid as much conflict, legalities as you can throughout lifetime. Finally, you must watch your health. Ketu's gone to the 12th house. You can get very stressed by all of these issues. Sometimes spouse has ill health. Sometimes spouse has a lot of stress, and this comes back onto you. It can go either way. Ketu's gone into the hospital house here, so that's why you can be very good in medicine, counseling, caring for others, because you really are good at giving other people advice, because you know how to help people deal with difficult situations. And to calm yourself down, this is not a calm position. This is not a calm placement for Rahu. Right, it's very strong. You may turn to substances. This could occasionally show alcohol, drugs, difficulties such as that, okay? But you have the absolute ability to overcome these addictions. These addictions, you can rise above them, whether it's food addiction, drink addiction, any sort of addictive behavior. Might even be gambling addiction, anything. You quickly become addicted. You have the ability to let it go. So at the end of life, K2 starts to really kick in. In the later years of your life, Ketu dominates, not Rahu. You give up all of these unhealthy behaviors, unhealthy ethics, maybe, all of the fighting, competition. You simply don't want to fight anymore. You want peace and quiet, retreat, and spiritual factors. Ketu here can show a complete revolution in your spiritual desires, even starting a new religious experience. I have seen this. That could also happen with this Ketu 12th house. Ketu is very strong here. At the end of life, he will pull you in a completely different direction where you become much more self-contained, because this is not a self-contained Rahu. You like to be full of contacts with so many people, and you love to be sociable, extremely sociable, but all of that goes. K2 takes you into retreat, silence, peace of mind, something which you have never known during the life in your later years. Rahu's in the 7th house, Ketu's in the 1st. This is a very strong placement, D9, because Rahu is in the place of relationships generally, 7th house, and Ketu has a lot to say about how you personally are dealing in relationships, but not just relationships, with your whole destiny and path in life. Start with K2 on this section. I haven't done this before, but I think it's really important because K2 is a fire planet. Fire energy's gone into your destiny. You can make sudden decisions quickly overnight. Say, right, I'm going to marry this person. Quickly decide, I'm going to leave my job. I'm going to do something different. K2 gives impulsivity when he's in 1st house, D9. So if you're not sure time of birth, this is one way to rectify the horoscope. See, K2 here shows it in relationships as something unfinished. Some particular karma has not been completed. You have to study it thoroughly. The sign, the aspects, planets involved. Take it into the D1 chart and see what's doing there. A deep understanding of this K2, because it's an unfinished situation and it's pulling you compulsively into a particular relationship or type of relationship. Of course, K2 is headless. 1st house K2 is not going to be influenced by anybody. Of course, all the other planets make a difference, but especially on its own in the 1st house, so independent, so driven to do your thing. Certainly, karmic rope is binding you into destined relationship, particularly for a spouse, totally destined. And of course, it may last a lifetime, depending on the Lord of the house and the other aspects. But it is a pure karmic continuation of a past situation. Again, it is totally compulsive. Now, talking about first spouse, there may be other planets here. Check the other videos in this playlist. See where the Lord has gone to see the end result of the relationship. But this Rahu being here shows that first spouse, first deep connection is highly independent, unique individual, possibly foreign shores, possibly different culture, possibly meet them while you are traveling or connected to foreign business, etc. That's a possibility, but one thing for sure, you can get really obsessed with this person. What you have to see is how many other planets with K2 with Rahu. More planets with K2 and it's less of an obsession. More planets with Rahu and you are pulled into the relationship and it seems a little bit out of control. When the karmic rope is here, you can feel out of control at some point in this whole relationship. Like you have to be with this person no matter how difficult it is. Or maybe it's a wonderfully bonded relationship, but it causes some instability to your life. How is that going to happen? It's an exciting relationship, that's the thing, because it does change your life. How does it change it? Rahu influences the 11th house and the 3rd house. So this first spouse, deep connection, has a deep impact on your friendship circles, on your community, on your work environment, maybe even have to have a new job, etc., and has a deep impact on your sibling, family, community relationships. So many things are shifting. This is taking you into a whole new life experience. And there can be sudden factors happening, sudden shocking events happening, if there are malefic affliction, and if this Rahu has malefic aspect only. You have to look at the aspects. One thing for sure, Rahu also has a big second house influence on the 8th house. Financial factors can become difficult if it is an afflicted Rahu. Finances in the relationship can shift suddenly and require attention. It's a very afflicted Rahu here. You can feel a little bit manipulated or made to act in a way you may not want to. But you see, over time, Ketu will pull against it, okay? Within time, when the time span of the past life debt, especially if Saturn is involved. If Saturn is here or is aspecting, this is a past life debt relationship, which will take a lot of energy. It doesn't mean can't become positive, but you have to make a little bit of sacrifice for the relationship. Check the video, Saturn karmas in all signs, of course, but in your own path in life. Rahu here shows that business can be very up and down if you have business situations. We can see this even D9. So you could have foreign business, you could have some very exciting, maybe media business Rahu, but it is going to go up and down through big phases. Even spouse may be involved in this as well, okay? So this is a very dynamic, shifting relationship scenario. But let's check what happens if this does not continue. Don't forget, Rahu, 7th house, does not mean that you're going to get divorced. But if you do get second spouse, this Rahu has a huge impact there as well. Why? Because second spouse comes from second house, and this is now 6 houses away here. So getting into the next marriage can be very difficult indeed. Or minimum, it's legal complications, difficulties, shocks, difficult factors happen to break the first relationship and cause second relationship to become permanent, because Rahu shows legalities. So there's a fight going to happen to get into the next relationship. It's really all about, you see, the binding factor of this karmic rope. When Rahu's gone to the 8th house, and therefore we have Ketu gone to the 2nd house once again, this karmic rope is a Sarpa dosha. This is intensely karmic, but intensely binding. First relationship can give you sudden stresses, challenges. Again, though, the final result of this first relationship, check the planets in there. When I say first relationship, I mean first long-term commitment, spouse, etc. Check the Lord of 7th house and all the aspects to the 7th house, see the result. But Rahu is in the 2nd house to that relationship. Actual maintenance of this first intimate relationship, partnership, marriage demands a lot of adjustment. You have to go through many phases, many sudden stops and starts to maintain this first relationship. A huge amount of adaptability will be necessary, and complete honesty. That's the thing. If you have that and favorable aspects to the 7th house, this will help tremendously. The destiny itself and relationships go through many complete transformations. Rahu's in the house of leaving the past behind, transforming. And the same happens every time you start a new relationship. You've got to chuck away all of the past. You can't take it with you and start afresh. But the most important thing, whether it's in first relationship, second, third, or there is a long-term, long-lasting first marriage, can be, this will not deny it, you still have to go through transformations within that relationship. It can't just stay steady, easy. every day is the same, every year is the same. There will be transformation happening within the relationship as well. With this position, sometimes first committed relationship takes you into foreign land because of Rahu's strong aspect onto 9th house, foreign shores, 12th house, foreign travel, and 4th house of home. So a complete shifting of your domestic situation happens with this first marriage. Now, here's another thing, much more deeper factor. Rahu's gone into the natural sign of Scorpio, house of Scorpio, scorpionic house, where he doesn't really like to be. So there is something always a little bit secret, underhand, intense obsessions in relationships, but also intense sexuality can occur with this axis. So he really inclines to secrecy, keeping things undercover. That is why I said right at the beginning of this reading, didn't I? Honesty, absolute openness is essential. But even then, there can be smoke and illusion, fears, worries, concerns, and a little bit of deception can even come in. So this absolute clarity and willingness to speak honestly with the partner is essential. Family ties are like a rope here. Rahu shows stimulating in-laws, first relationship, but a few challenges from them as well, definitely. Something radical about them. Ketu shows a tie to your family of origin, family of birth. There is a very strong tie there, karmically there, which in a way you either have to get away from completely or assimilate. There is something that you have to take on board with their values that never really leaves you, or you have to integrate them into your path of life. This is the deepest challenge. And finally, if there is second marriage, don't forget Rahu here does not guarantee it at all, but if there is a second marriage, then that spouse is Ketu. So what does this mean? This means that that second intimate long-term relationship spouse is likely to be someone who you've known before, either in this lifetime, maybe dated before, met before, or coming from past life. Now we have Rahu gone to the 9th house and Ketu's gone to the 3rd house. This is a bit of a tricky situation now. Rahu's in a house where he lacks strength, so is Ketu. So this could go to extremes. Rahu here has difficulty trusting, can be cheated, not necessarily in a relationship, but in their trust in other people. They can be a little bit naive earlier on in life, but as they get older and older, wow, this Rahu becomes very astute indeed. There's a karmic rope that binds you to your father's family, father's ancestor, father himself in some very dramatic and difficult way perhaps, but it is there. And Ketu binding you to your siblings, father, some rivalry perhaps, some jealousy, some difficulty, some stress is definitely coming into these family relationships. Strong continuation of past life connections with both father, but definitely siblings, you see. Siblings were connected to you past life. Here they are again. And all of the stresses come up. Separations, miscommunication, arguments, difficulties. A real difficulty understanding siblings, or one of them in particular. And this can go on all through the life. It's like a rope. It's like a binding factor. But still, you do move on from it in time. Try to accommodate these difficult situations and avoid tensions and misunderstandings with your siblings, especially if there are malefics connecting to this Ketu. Very often spouse can be from foreign shores, or you are attracted to people from completely different cultures. Maybe it's because you get a little bit of a distance from them to begin with. Traveling to meet spouse can be there, or spouses coming from a far distance to see you. Sometimes even long distance relationships can be shown by the axis. This placement can also show life direction, where there is a deep engagement with philosophy, religion, instruction, but that you balk against being held down into one particular viewpoint. You are open to many new aspects of all religions. You are very open to different philosophies. You have to watch ethics with this Rahu. Rahu aspects first house, fifth house. You're very charismatic, very good leader, politician. People are drawn to you, follow you. Even a good teacher can have this position, but there is a tendency somehow to manipulate factors, manipulate the truth. Be careful. But what communication skill? As I said, huge charisma, huge ability to draw a crowd to you. Performer, politician, as I say, definitely media personality. People are drawn to your charismatic use of language, use of words, which is absolutely innate. Now, any malefic affliction, and there could even be communication difficulties, but still the charisma will be there. When Rahu's in the 10th house in the D9, Ketu's gone to the 4th house. It's a type of Sapa as well, but less than the other axes, definitely. What you see here is a drive to fame, a drive to attainment, or, depending on the sign and the aspects, complete lack of direction in life. There can be early fame. There can be push to fame from your parents, like a child star or something such as that, or very early success by your own drive and charisma. Rahu, if he is strong by sign, he will open up all sorts of career opportunities from the very beginning of life, because you are escaping through career, through prominence from a difficult childhood, difficult beginning, where there was a lack of nurturance or some deep insecurity. One thing that's seldom understood about this axis, everybody, here's a big secret, is that this axis gives wilderness years in your career direction. This whole axis, by the way, is really impacting career, direction in life, attainment, and wealth. It is not so much impacting relationships unless, here's the thing, 7th Lord D9 or D1 is in a conjunction to either Ketu or Rahu. Otherwise, this is about your direction, your destiny in life. You have to be careful here. There are temptations for shortcuts, temptations for doing things not always honestly in the career, occasionally. What you will see, though, far more than that, that's a rare thing, is loads of competition. You get loads of competition in the career front because this Rahu is going to impact how you deal with competitors, and you can be very successful. Strong by sign, all the competition, all the competitors, you come up on top. But your deepest competitor, your deepest person who can cause you distress is your own inner insecurity. People may not see how insecure you are inside with the axis. Now, this karmic rope is binding you in 3 ways strongly through this Kendra Ketu. You see, 1, bound to your country of origin, country of birth. Even if you go away, tend to come back. Strong karmic tie. Secondly, bound to your family of origin as well. As I say, some disturbance there, not an easy childhood situation. And thirdly, there's another binding factor, bound to your own insecurities, you see. What we tend to see is some addictive tendencies or some escapist tendencies. Ketu here gives that. You know, Ketu is in Karabhava here. Karabhava means health issues can come up. Now, these can be connected to addiction, drug addiction, drink addiction, even food addiction, very often seen eating disorder. There is some deep insecurity and you are attempting to escape from it. But you see, in the end, Rahu will pull you out of this. Rahu can show sudden financial change of status, sudden financial gain. This can go positive or negative. You have to see all the aspects, all the planets. But gain continually comes in, weather is lost. It's a big cycle of changing status in life all the time. Sometimes inheritance, family concerns give you gain. Sometimes sudden job opportunities out of the blue give you tremendous and sometimes unexpected success. Sometimes it isn't what you know, but who you know. People around you, colleagues, network circles support you and promote you. Rahu in the 11th house is very similar to 10th house here. Rahu is going to push you to success, push you to rise in life from your early experience. But here it's much more straightforward. It's a continual upward path. It isn't so mixed. It isn't so fluctuating. So if you are thinking, do I have correct Lagna, ascendant, D9? Do I need to adjust a little bit here and there? Listen to what I said about Rahu 10th and compare it to this 11th. It's a very stark, clear difference. Rahu is strong by house, Ketu strong by house, pushing forward in a definite karmic direction. You should find path early in life, and if you don't, there must be many afflictions to this Rahu, but you will in the end. You will be drawn to a definite way to earn. You will be drawn to definite relationship and karmic family situations. It will be a very strong direction shown. Of course, sign of Rahu, aspects to Rahu. We've been through it all. Makes all the difference. Check the beginning of the video. So there can be money coming in, gain coming in early in life, right direction found, prominence, success, pushing upwards. Education should be good, should be interesting, should be revolutionary. Education matters to success. That's the thing. And here's the other thing. Rahu here is in the house, 11th house, which really relates to 7th house matters directly. Not like 10th house. This directly links to 7th house because in D9, 7th house underlay is there. Once again, any confusion about this, you should check the video, houses D9, because you cannot read them just like the birth chart. Be careful. So Rahu explains something about type of person who attracts you. Someone who is confident, revolutionary, does things differently, a very attractive, dynamic personality, sometimes completely different culture, foreign land, yes, or you meet them foreign land sometimes, or more than often you meet them in educational setting because it is third from the ninth. Occasionally could connect to a particular partner online because Rahu's about connecting online here. And definitely, though, it's certainly going to be some group dynamic around meeting potential relationships in a party situation, in a university setting, in a political group, social group, something such as that. And there's an immediate attraction to this destined relationship very often. Rahu aspects 7th house. Very quick sexual attraction, very quick dynamics between you. Now, this can go different ways. As I say, partner from different culture, completely different background to you could happen because Rahu represents it. But also I've seen there could be a real connection between you because of similarities. You do something similar, have the same interests, political interests, religious interests. There could be enormous similarity as much as difference. Something is binding you together, and that's part of the whole karmic rope. It's coming from a past lived experience together. An interesting factor with this dynamic, though, Rahu 11th Ketu, is that Ketu is in past life situation coming to romance. So to go off on this new direction, this life, something from your immediate past, this life has to be given up. Sometimes you have to leave a relationship to be with a destined relationship. Sometimes you have to give up a way of life, give up something which you are attached to. Ketu shows leaving something behind. So there could even be where you are not sure which partner you should be with. There's some element of indecision because Ketu's in the actual house of romance. So it's not a very straightforward factor here, but one thing for sure, you will know when you are with destined spouse because you are going in the same direction together. That's the thing. There's a purpose to the relationship. It's very clear when you have Ketu in the 5th house, which still relates to children, but also who you are. So your whole sense of self changes when you meet spouse, because spouse connects to you in such a deep way that you virtually merge into each other. There's a real symbiotic, can I say it that way? Symbiotic connection between you with this Rahu Ketu. Past life connection for sure, most likely, but you are doing something together that you didn't complete past life. That's the next thing. Now, it's obvious, isn't it? Ketu is in the house of offspring as well. 5th house always is offspring. So we have a definite past karma to create offspring together, or to teach children. You could be teachers together, something such as that. Or to do good for kids, to adopt children, foster them, teach them, support them. Supporting the next generation is one of the key factors of this Rahu Ketu dynamic. You don't always have kids with this Ketu. I mean, the whole chart has to be seen. D7 chart talks about children. Okay, lots of things. A birth chart. Do not forget the birth chart. This should be plugged in always to the birth chart. But if you do have kids, they may be people who you've known before. Most likely they are. I mean, we're always connecting to our children through our past life karmas, but there's a definite unfinished debt that you have with your spouse to these children. It's a very deep, deep thing. One of your children may struggle, may be lost in life a little bit. Just one of them. That can happen sometimes, so they need your support. It doesn't mean they're going to be sick and all the rest of it. Just a little, lack of direction. That could happen sometimes. But here's the thing. You are here to give direction to the next generation, to mentor, to care for. So it's a very responsible axis of Rahu Ketu. Finally, back to your own path in life. Rahu here can be very academic, very quick, very clever, can be a lawyer, can be teacher, lecturer, academic, politician, definitely. Can be somebody who stands out, who supports other people in a larger organization. Being in a larger organization is a big factor with this Rahu 11th house. Have Rahu 12th house, Ketu 6 is a very strong axis here, but it is going to pull life into some extreme situations very often. It's a very secretive placement, and this is the thing. You give off this vibe of there's more going on than what you're talking about. That there's stuff going on behind the scenes, and this can affect intimacy where your partner doesn't know what you're really doing, or you feel suspicious of your partner. See, to understand this axis, everybody, you have to understand that this is shadow placement. 12th house, 6th house, or shadow houses. They're shadows in the horoscope, any Varga. So Rahu, Ketu are shadow planets. So we've got this double shadow, this hidden suspicion, what's really going on factor coming into light. And it isn't just in relationships. Can affect your whole reputation in life. Okay, now that isn't always going to happen. You have to see the whole chart, but it can give that, particularly workplace. You can be an absolute workaholic, by the way, with this, because Ketu is just headless, keeps on going, work. But your method of work can be a little bit chaotic, and other people may not understand you. May wonder, what are you up to in the workplace? People may not fully trust you with your method. So criticism comes very easily to this axis. Here's another thing. If the 7th house lord, 1st house D9 connects to any of these nodes, 7th house D9, 7th house lord D1, partner lords connect in the D9 to Rahu Ketu, then there can be a lack of money, there can be overspending, there can be financial crisis with the spouse, because 12th house is about expenses and expenditure and loss. So if it is connecting to spouse in any way, D1, D9, then relationships financially can become unstable at some point. Fourth, there's a real interest in occult, astrology, secrets in life. You want to read about these, understand these, and writing as well. Talent in mystery stories, detective stories, all of these things occasionally may be there. Rahu shows that you're strongly interested in spirituality, religion, but you may hide it. People may never know that you've actually got this type of interest, because you may seem like a completely different person outside to who you are inside. So intense secrecy about even religious beliefs, or even later in life, that can be like a deathbed conversion or a complete change, where you suddenly decide, no, I want to meet God in this way, not that way, right? So that there's a deep secrecy about religion, spirituality, and many factors in life. Talk about smoke and illusion on steroids. That is Rahu when he's in the 12th house, D9. On the other side of things, of course, especially in a fire sign, especially in any difficult sign, Rahu increases seduction. You seduce others. You are easily seduced, easily influenced by other people. Watch who you associate with. Can you really trust these people? Do you know what their motivations are? So you are easily seduced by a very high sexuality or desire nature here. Another factor is a Ketu, as well as making you like a bit of a workaholic sometimes. Rahu Ketu here can go either way. You can be workaholic and then doing nothing at all, lazing around. It can go to extremes. Rahu, though, does give tendency for addiction. If I haven't mentioned that, I'm mentioning it again. Addictive tendencies, be careful. And you may even need medical help to overcome them if you should succumb. So keep all addictive tendencies strictly in hand. This can be anything: food addiction, drink, drugs, anything. Wherever there is escapism, you should avoid it. And a very strong connection to non-human beings. Rahu, Ketu are the snake animals. Ketu is in the house of small pets. Rahu in the house of larger animals. So working with animals, caring for animals, rescuing animals, supporting animals, being with animals. This is all about animals in some way. A big connection will be there. And it's a restless life. There can be much traveling in the life all over the place. Foreign land is a big impulse to go there, be there, settle there, but sometimes come home. So marrying abroad, going abroad, living abroad, coming home again, or either way, partner comes from far distant land, that can be shown as well. So definitely it's a very changeable, dynamic experience of karmas here. But you are pulled more than anything into a service attitude where you are caring for people who need you. So this is very important. Spouse could need your help. Siblings could need your help. Somebody needs your help when you have Rahu Ketu in this axis. It's an important thing. It mightn't apply to everybody, but where there are planets with the node, either Rahu, Ketu, either way, strengthening the axis, be aware of politics. You may become politician, but that's where defamation could come. If you get involved in any political argument, political debate, it could work against you. You have to be careful. Whether it's government politics, whether it's office politics, definitely don't get involved. Stay aside, stay aloof from these arguments and debates. They could go badly for you, no matter how strongly you feel about them. Become detached. That's the best way. Do not be distracted by politics. It can drain you physically, even make you sick. With this K2 here, it can affect health, mentally drain energy from you. You have a vocation in this life, Rahu 12th, K26, find that vocation. It will find you, do not fear. Check the D10 as well, but don't angst about it. You will be drawn into that line. It will definitely be about serving others, serving non-humans, maybe we have discussed, or serving people in a larger organization, hospitals, asylums, prisons, anything where you are helping people, giving them counseling, therapy, help in some way. So it's about service and vocation. Do not become distracted from it. Check out all the other positions of the planets in your D9 chart up on your screen right now. So below also if you're new. Great to have you on board. Goodbye for now. God bless everyone.